morning. Charlie Rowley's here. Very good morning to you, Charlie.
Good morning, man.
How happy are you that we finally reached this milestone that we can all be proud of? I was saying earlier, we should have had some kind of ceremony for the 50,000th migrant as he staggered off the boat into the arms of the waiting, border force people in Dover.
Well, you and your listeners will forgive me if I don't join in the celebrations at number 10.
Yeah.
Might also be holding their head in their hands. But you're right, it's not smashing the gangs, it's smashing
the gangs,
records.
stopping the boats, taking them on, making sure that we've... I'll tell you what we've got for you. This is a special treat, and you should be very pleased about this. There was a Home Office video that got put out back end of last week, which was quite long, so we've taken a little while to sort of break it down and find little highlights from it, right? And you won't be surprised to know that there's a whole load of people on it who you've never heard of, OK? You might have heard of Martin Hewitt, the Border Security Commander, but you probably haven't heard of Duncan Capps, who is the Small Boats Operational Command, Kendall Barnett, Immigration Enforcement, Phil Douglas, Director General of UK Border Force, Rob Jones, Organised Immigration Crime, and Victoria Pullin, Home Office Intelligence. All of these people are going to explain to you over the course of the next hour exactly what it is that they do and how it is that they're going to stop the people from coming.
I look forward to it.
Should we start? Let's start with Martin Hewitt. He's the Border Security Commander. If you can make any sense of any of this, by the way, jump in at any time. Have a look.
My name is Martin Hewitt and I am the Border Security Commander. Border Security Command has been developed to ensure that we can deliver collectively all the different elements of the system. So this is not a new organisation coming and having a particular responsibility. It's coming and sitting across all of the different ways that we seek to have a secure and effective border. We've also got the advantage that the government are very clear about how they want to reset the relationship with the European Union, and there's been a lot of really great interaction happening. I will be using my role as Border Security Commander to ensure that we are coordinating across the system. I'm determined to deliver, and I'm confident that how we're going about that will give us the best chance that we've got of success.
Anything?
Oh, sorry, I think
Did you zone out?
I closed my eyes for a second.
He talks about working with the European Union. But these are the people that are supposed to be smashing the gangs and stopping the boats and actually preventing people from landing here. But all they do is talk about delivery, and there's a sort of new Labour speak about what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Have a look at this. This is Duncan Capps, Small Boats Operational Command.
The problem that we're trying to defeat is a transnational, complex, complicated and wicked one. The initiative that the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister put into it brings new resource to match our aspirations to be able to interdict those gangs with, I think, the right mechanisms under the new powers that we will get, and I think the right people to be able to do that.
Yeah. They're supposed to be stopping, just remind them, they're supposed to be just stopping the boats. A dinghy is coming over the channel, it's got a lot of people in it, you stop it, you arrest them, you send it back, right? Let's try Kendall Barnett, Immigration Enforcement, see if he knows any better.
People thinking that they're coming over here as carers, then end up going into kind of sex work. It's not what it is that's sold to them originally.
What? They come over here as carers and end up as sex workers? That's a new one on me. Let's try Phil Douglas, Director General UK Border Force. Any clues? How are we going to fix this?
These gangs aren't like narcos or the mafia. They're much more flexible. You arrest one bunch of them and immediately there are more people there. I think in the past perhaps we've lacked that focus, particularly when it comes to working with countries overseas. These crimes are being committed in France, in Netherlands, in Germany, and we'll need to rely on our international partners to identify, arrest and prosecute these individuals. And that's the focus that the Border Security Command also brings. Also looking at our asylum processing and our immigration enforcement, so that the whole kind of migrant journey is within the purview of Border Security Command, and that's not something that we've really had before. The recent agreement that's been signed with Germany, that means that Germany will be able to use its legislation to stop the transit of small boats materials going through Germany.
Can you just stop the bleeding boats, right? What's he talking about Germany for? And by the way, they're not just committing crimes in Europe, in the Netherlands, in France, in Germany. They're committing them once they get here as well. So they come here and then they start committing crimes in Britain as well. I'm struggling really here because I'm just trying to find somebody who works in this area who actually knows what they're talking about. Let's try Rob Jones from the National Crime Agency.
There isn't one thing which will solve the organised immigration crime. It requires concurrent pressure in a number of different areas at the same time. It's not as simple as just identifying a warehouse where drugs are being stored, linking somebody to that and arresting them. The parts of the evidential jigsaw are spread across Europe and much further afield. The most significant success, which really encompasses the business model and describes best what we can do and what we need to do at scale, was our Operation Punjam against an individual called Rahimpour. Now, that individual moved thousands of migrants and large quantities of equipment which we used to transport those migrants to the UK. That effort involved hundreds of officers with Europol and a range of international partners in Germany, Belgium and France.
The evidential jigsaw. Right. It's a boat. It's a dinghy with people on it. Here we are, 50,000. 50,000 migrants have now arrived under Labour. Thank you very much indeed to Keir Starmer. Finally, Victoria Pullin from Home Office Intelligence. Let's hear what she has to say.
So it's taking border security and bringing together all the different factions across our system that work on border security issues. It's that strategic mind. So we're working towards a single set of goals and objectives. Very pleased to say, even though it's still relatively early days, we've seen seizures of goods and we've also seen the arrest of prominent criminals.
Yeah. You know who we haven't heard from is Yvette Cooper. She's the Home Office Secretary of State, I guess. She said on Friday that she was going to give us regular updates on, you know, what was going on. She hasn't given us any updates at all since Friday. No. It's now Tuesday. So I call that irregular updates.
Yes. And on quite a day when, you know, they've smashed the record of, you know,
50,000.
50,000 in just over 400 days of coming into office.
Tremendous work.
I mean,
I'm congratulating them. It's the first proper milestone that this government has managed to achieve. I think well done to Keir Starmer and his merry band of men and women. Yes. And some non-binary individuals.
Well, yes, quite well. And when, yes, I think it was Duncan, who was the second clip that you showed there, when he started talking about a trans
Duncan
something
Caps.
or other, I thought he was going into something else.
Yeah.
When it was trans was mentioned.
Trans something, yeah. But I mean, that whole sort of word salad of miasma of crap, frankly, tells you why they can't do anything. They're kind of solidified in their own nonsense.
And I'm so glad that you've put that and your team have put that together, because that just highlights to everybody the issue in government. And so, I mean, I took tried to take a few notes there. I mean, under Martin, your first clip, you know, talking about having a coordinated approach as if there wasn't one in the first place. I mean, that's quite alarming. Greater integration with the EU again, well, that sort of EU alignment through the back door, when we know it's more of a global problem, so focusing on the EU is not relevant. Duncan and Kendall, I just put question marks to, as I did for Victoria at the end, so not quite sure what they were talking about. Phil, forgotten his whatever he was talking about.
Director General of the UK Border Force. Who are all these people?
Yes.
Why have they all got different titles and doing nothing? They're doing nothing.
Exactly. Talking about greater relationships with France, the Netherlands and Germany, you know, it's up to them to create their own laws. We've got no influence with that, and grateful that Germany might have done a bit more around the edges. But we've seen the issue with France. We've paid them a load of old money, and they don't do anything.
770 million, I think, have we, France?
Exactly. But the major point is, out of all of those 5-6 top officials sitting in the Home Office,
all of whom will be on six-figure salaries, I'm assuming.
And they are the ones that will have the ear of the Home Secretary. They'll be going in to advise the Home Secretary. They'll be the ones that are trying to put together the figures to give her something to give us an update on. But the idea that the Home Office and the government thought that was a good way of communicating to the public.
Explaining what they do.
And this is why we can see just how flawed the Home Office is, because it will be those people using exactly that kind of word salad, as you say, that will be presenting to the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary will take all of that, present that to us as if we know what they're talking about. They have just articulated and demonstrated that they haven't got a clue.
No.
It is very clear.
Because it's part of that political class of people who think that by saying something and by making a statement or producing a paper, that's some kind of achievement. It's not an achievement. An achievement is stopping the bleeding boats, stopping the people coming.
And it takes a very, very good politician, not someone that you've seen in the past, politicians that are trained to be politicians, but someone who comes in as Home Secretary to be able to say, thank you very much for that presentation and what you've just, that word salad. Not interested in any of that, because that's your job, that's what you're paid to do. Just tell me, what the numbers of the boats are that have come in, what have we done to stop them today,
Yeah.
what powers do I need to get through Parliament to say we're turning the boats around, or we're taking these people and we're deporting them within 48 hours. I don't need to hear the excuses.
And by the way, has anybody heard from what's happened to those people who were supposedly detained at the end of last week?
Well,
what's happened to them?
Waiting for the regular update.
Are we waiting for the regular update? Oh, hang on. Breaking news. We've got a regular update from Yvette Cooper. She's actually said something which has apparently been found from yesterday. Let's have a look.
Instead, prescription is about one narrow group that has been involved in violent attacks, including injuries, including weapons, smoke bombs causing panic among innocent people, major criminal damage against national security infrastructure, and where there's been clear security assessments and advice. There may be people who are objecting to prescription who don't know the full nature of this organisation because of court restrictions on reporting while serious prosecutions are underway. But it's really important that no one's in any doubt that this is not a non-violent organisation.
Sorry, I'm sorry, that was obviously the wrong clip.
Action.
She's talking about Palestine action. Yeah, that's what she said yesterday about that. She didn't say anything about the boats. Nothing about the boats, no update. Didn't say, oh, by the way, look out for tomorrow morning because we're going to get 50,000 over the line. We're finally going to, get that target that we've been looking for all this time. Nothing about the boats at all.
No, which is...
no updates.
No updates. No,
the people were detained. We saw some video last week. We saw at least 3 men walking into a what looked like a room, which may or may not have been a detention centre, with a blue plastic bag, which presumably contained their belongings and their new phone and perhaps a robe in case they fancied it, where they went for a shower. So here we are. This is them walking into their place of putrefaction, where they're going to be held until they can be set free, because they've got to get lawyers and stuff. So I don't think any of them have been sent back yet. Nobody knows.
No.
We await an update.
Waiting update. Let's hope she's up bright and early this morning and listening in. And
they're very keen, Dowling Street, listening to the show a lot.
Yes,
complaining about it.
But as
you know what they said yesterday? Apparently they were upset that we said that they lied about Chagos. That apparently, the $3.5 billion that Keir Starmer said it was going to cost now it's going to cost $35 billion.
Yes.
Apparently, they said that was unfair. It's not true to say that he lied.
Well, I think they need to look a bit closer to home.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe have a word with the Prime Minister.
Yes. Where many people have reported that the figures involved, and the FOI request...
Well, the FOI request from the Telegraph says that that's what it's going to cost.
It was in a government document that suggested during the whole planning of, if you give up the Chagos Islands, it could cost up to, and it probably will, as everything tends to. So I think they might be eating that little bit of humble pie
I wonder,
as we get down the line. But you're right. Today is a significant day for all the wrong reasons.
It is.
Where the conditions, you mentioned at the top about the weather and conditions getting better. That is only going to improve today, tomorrow, throughout the rest of the week.
It's going to be a lovely week for it.
So by the end of this week,
we could have 55,000.
We could easily.
There's there's the front page of the Sun. They've got 50,000, Britain's broken borders, but they've also got pages 6 and 7 where they've worked out, because they've got very clever people with calculators in the Sun. There's about one arriving every 11 minutes now. An asylum seeker.
And that is the kind of language, and that is the kind of stuff
thing
that will
people
cut through
understand.
to people. Exactly. None of this, nonsense that we've just heard from that clip. Again, credit to your team for putting that together.
And all that.
Yes, and all of that waffle that people, the general public, aren't interested in, that won't necessarily, not that they won't understand what they're saying, but they don't want to hear the excuses, because that's all that was. A montage of excuses of officials that are hiding behind words, trying to say, well, we'll shuffle the decks around to say, Minister, we're doing this, or it's very difficult because we can't get France involved, or the Netherlands or Germany, but they're going to do that, and that will unlock...
Yes.
No, we are responsible for our borders.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to stop those boats coming in, or to turn them around, or to detain people and deport them,
and what are you going to do? Yeah, and what are you going to do in the future to stop it becoming 100,000? Because we can't go on like this. Somebody is going to have to find a method to stop them. Yeah. That's what they said they would do. They were going to smash the gangs. They were going to stop the boats. I know Rishi Sunak said the same thing. He didn't do it either. The point is that one illegal migrant coming every 11 minutes is not acceptable.
Yes.
It's just really not acceptable. 32,000 housed in hotels at the end of March. 31% of the total of 103,000 asylum seekers are getting accommodation support in the United Kingdom. We're also now knowing they're moving them out of the hotels and putting them into, multiple occupancy homes, where loads of them are now living, cheek by jowl with ordinary people in ordinary streets, in ordinary neighbourhoods, which people don't want. Meanwhile, the Sun have also got this. Illegal migrants are offered discounts on ice skating in the latest small small boats benefits farce. Asylum seekers in Oxford can get cut price entry to the city's leisure centre for £2.10, which includes access to an ice rink. Normally, it would cost you £11.10. So taxpayers are stumping up a 79% subsidy.
Yes.
That's nice, isn't it?
Very nice. And I'm
very popular in Eritrea, I'm told, ice skating.
The tall Valentines are waiting of Eritrea.
Tall Valentine of Eritrea. Bring it on. The Winter Olympics are not far away. Let's train a few of them up.
Yes, and the only defence, which doesn't happen very often for obvious reasons, but I will try and give to the government, central government, is that I think this sounds like a local government scheme. So this will be Oxfordshire County Council, I assume, or a district or borough council within it.
It's still our money.
But it is still taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So when your listeners hear from local councils that they are cash-strapped and they can't afford adult social care services, they can't afford children care services, they can't afford SEN provision for your young people, they can't afford a cut in business rates for local shopkeepers and businesses. Ask your council why, because they are cutting money, they are subsidising those kinds of initiatives for people that should not be here in the first place. That is your local authority directing your local hard-working cash in areas that the public clearly don't want to be going
And
into.
also, who's behind this kind of nonsense? You know, who in their right mind thinks that these people who are coming here need to get a discount on bloody ice skating? They don't need it.
Yes.
Do they?
No.
Why should they get a discount on ice skating?
No, I'm all for if you've come into the country legally, if you've applied through the right means, if you've got good basic English, you might need to top up. In terms of just integrating, because you want to make a contribution to your society, I'm all for maybe saying, OK, there might be a class that we can help subsidise for you to learn English.
Yeah, but why should we help subsidise? We're already giving them money.
Exactly.
We're already giving them free money.
But that should come far down the page. You should have actually been here for a few years. You've got actually legal status to be here, that you're working, you're contributing, not people that just suddenly appear on our doorstep that, as you said earlier on, can fight the legal framework in order to stay here, so they're not going to get deported, that we don't know where they are, they don't know where they come from, we don't know, apart from, we don't even know what 4 or 5-star hotels we're putting them up in, because they go missing every now and again.
Exactly.
So the councils have got to get its priorities right, the government have got to get their priorities right, and clearly each day that we read these kinds of stories, they are failing in every
because their
every
first
turn.
instinct, these idiots in local government and in national government, their first instinct is to go, oh, these poor people, they've come here from this war-torn place, better give them some free stuff. Well, no, stop giving them free stuff. Stop giving them free anything.
Yes.
You know, make them sit in a room or make them sit in a cell until such time as you can work out who they are, what they want to do and what they're up to. And then, maybe, give them something to eat. You know, but what you don't do is give them free passes to the cinema, free access to gyms and free bleeding ice skating.
Yes. Because
just don't do it.
Because that is our deterrent. That is our deterrent.
I know.
Come in, you get your £50 a week, you get the free hotel, you get all these other bits and bobs that British people, hard-working taxpayers, can't afford and won't get access to. That is the deterrent.
I know. 50,000 of them here since Keir Starmer got in. Unbelievable. Let's get a voice note from Mark.
Morning, Mike. It's Mark in Lancashire. What an absolute load of gaslighting nonsense that this border farce sham that they're actually trying to stop this in any way whatsoever. They pick these boats up 4 miles off the French coast and bring them across to Dover. That's not even what they're supposed to do. The law is that they take them to the nearest port, which is back to Calais. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, why don't they go ice skating in bloody Calais? You've got any gyms over there? Just send them back there. We don't want them here. It's as simple as that. 25 minutes past 6.
They don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that? The return of the sausages.
50,000 and counting, ladies and gentlemen. It's 28 minutes past 6. We are here, of course, for the duration this morning until 10 o'clock. Morning, Mike, says Mark in Croydon. Listening to that garbage made me wonder what all these idiots are getting paid to talk gibberish for. Aren't they all doing the same job? So why are there so many of them? Well, this is the thing. And the Home Office actually put this out at the end of last week. The Border Security Commander, Martin Hewitt. The Small Boats Operational Command, Duncan Capps. The Immigration Enforcement Office, Kendall Barnett. The Director General of the UK Border Force, Phil Douglas. Rob Jones, National Crime Agency, Organised Immigration Crime. And Victoria Victoria Pullen, Home Office Intelligence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, none of whom can say anything about what they're doing to stop the boats, and they're not actually stopping the boats. Peter in Suffolk says, morning, Mike, I think the best thing to do is deport all those clowns you've just shown us. Couldn't help but laugh, says Andrew. Your montage of Border Force officials waffling on about everything but stopping the boats. It's true, we're going to keep playing it because it is absolute madness. They're useless, completely useless. And you can see, as Charlie Rowley said to us, why they're kind of trapped in this world of civil service speak. And they just can't get to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is, what are you going to do to stop these people coming?
Yep.
And, you know, they talk about jigsaws and bloody, you know, environments and you know, deals and resets and all the rest of it, but they don't actually talk about stopping anybody from doing anything.
Exactly, and it will take a very, very strong individual to cut through all of that. I mean, not even a strong individual, a normal person maybe, someone that can actually see the
Somebody
issues.
just who understands what ordinary people think and how they talk.
Yeah, exactly, because that's... And again, I am chuffed to bits that was... well, not chuffed to bits that it was put out by Number 2, but I'm chuffed to bits that it was, in a way, because people can see what ministers and what... You know, I would have sat in meeting after meeting with officials like that, telling you all kinds of nonsense and guff to sort of throw you off track.
But
or
when
to
you're
bombard
sitting in
you
those meetings, are people kind of nodding sagely going, oh, this is all very good, this is great, good, you know, presentation and very well done, but nothing's happening?
Well, there's a skill to, I think, acknowledging that, OK, someone's might have spent a lot of time on that presentation and they worked very hard to get whatever it is that they want to get across to you. But it's then having the ability to say, thank you very much, that's all great. But the real questions are, and so I want the answers to...
how many people have you actually stopped from coming?
Exactly.
For example.
Exactly. And so I think, but you know, but that takes a particular person. I mean, I was very fortunate, you know. Obviously, my last boss was Michael Gove, who I thought was particularly good at being able to navigate those kinds of people and those kinds of conversations. But there'll be other ministers, I'm afraid to say, and I think we're seeing them particularly more than most in this government, that would be happy just to sit back and say to those people, those 6. Thank you very much. That's brilliant work.
Ticked a nice box.
At least I've now got something that I can say in the House of Commons without then addressing the small but the number one issue in the room.
Yes, we've already, because you can hear it, can't you? So we've already got the Border Security Command and the Small Boats Operational Command working together, you know, in lockstep. That's the phrase that he likes to use, isn't it? In lockstep, fighting the criminal gangs, and they're absolutely determined to stop them. Means nothing.
No.
They can be as determined as they like, but they're not actually stopping them.
Well, because the facts speak for themselves. When the numbers keep going up, when we've hit that 50,000 milestone today, all of that nonsense that we heard about is just that, because it is not doing what it says. It's not doing what
Whistling
it says on
in the
tin.
wind.
Whistling in the wind, because the facts speak for themselves.
Yeah, exactly right. Meanwhile, back in sort of home territory, over 40 rough sleepers have lined Oxford Street with makeshift beds after a migrant shanty town was cleared. And I don't know if you know Oxford Street well, but if you go around the back of John Lewis, there's a sort of there's a square behind it where there's a car park underneath where I sometimes park, just at the bottom of Harley Street. And all along there, because it's got a sort of a slight, you know, sticking out bit, so you can, you know, it's safe from the rain, if you like. I'm trying to think of what the word is, but I can't think of what it is. Canopy, there you go, thank you very much. There's a sort of canopy that runs down the side of this street behind John Lewis, and that's where they all sleep. And so now there's about 40 people sleeping there, and they're all migrants, and they've come from God knows where. They obviously haven't got a room in a hotel for whatever reason. They might be people that have come by another means, so they haven't come through the Border Force kind of checkpoint, if you like, and they've just somehow got themselves into London, and they're sleeping on the streets. And it's a horrible, it's a terrible look. It looks awful. It looks like a third world country.
Yes, I think that's why I know there's a lot of chatter in some of the papers about kind of accommodation that you might give to people that come in small boats. So shutting down those hotels, yes, I think everybody wants to see that.
Right.
But when the conversation leads into, well, you know, they can sleep in tents like everybody else, I don't actually think. I can understand the sentiment maybe at first, but, you know, when you actually then see what would be hundreds of thousands of people. No, because that would just, I think, increase crime. It will blight the community even more. It will cause even more community tension.
The answer is, guess what? Kick them out of the country.
Exactly.
Deport them. Do not let them sleep rough. Do not let them sleep in hotels. Do not let them sleep in homes. Get them out of the country. Send them back to where they came from.
Exactly. And that should be the, if I can put it like this, the eye on the prize.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no point, and no minister, shadow or otherwise, no one in, you know, the Conservative Party, Reform, or the government should be entertaining alternatives to such accommodation. The accommodation shouldn't be there. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be available.
They shouldn't be here.
People that come here should be deported. That is the prize. That is, do not lose focus of that goal, because the moment you do, that's when you get those 6 wonderful, highly paid
Keir Starmer
people.
seems to have made the leap, if you like, to the point where he says these people aren't supposed to be in this country. They don't have the right to be in this country. If they've entered the country illegally, we're going to deport them. That's what he said. But he's not doing it.
No.
Because, you know, he's got this ridiculous one-in, one-out nonsense, right? Which is literally not worth the paper it's written on. And until he actually crosses that Rubicon and goes, I'll tell you what, all of those people in Downing Street, you're going to go down there, Downing Street, Oxford Street, you're going to go down there this morning, you're going to pick them all up, put them in the back of a van, drive them to Dover and put them on a ferry and send them back to France, or whatever by whatever means necessary, right?
Yes.
That's the only way to do it, surely.
Yeah, exactly, because what we
you know, make their lives a misery and they might just go back.
Well, and the you know, the 50,000 mark that we've hit today in record quick time is because there isn't that deterrent, and it shows that the UK is a soft touch. And the more that you see people being able to get away with what they're doing at the minute, or they're getting the freebies from local authorities, or they're getting freebies from the national government, they're getting the hotel and all the rest of it, all of the perks that we know that people get. That is the pull factor. So until you stop it, until you show as a UK we can flex our muscles and get a grip of the situation by deporting people, then they're just going to keep on coming.
They will keep on coming, and imagine how much the number will be when we get to December. You know, because we've still got, you know, quite a few months of the year to go, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if you get another 25,000 between now and the end of the year. That's 75,000 will have come under Keir Starmer's prime ministership.
Yes, and the biggest risk as we go into the autumn,
we simply can't afford it.
No, we can't afford it, because the biggest risk as we get to the autumn, where there's the party conference season, so it's an opportunity for the parties to sort of have a bit of a reset movement if it wants to. I've no doubt. Let's see. But if I was in Number 10, I'd be saying to the Prime Minister, you've got to make it absolutely clear to the public when you're doing your Prime Minister's conference speech in October, September, October, you are going to be
You've got to have
tough.
something to
You've
show
got
for
to
it.
have something to show for it. Because
you can't just say we're going to be tough, because we've had all that. We've had all the tough speeches and the, you know, I'm gonna, you know, smash the big smuggling gang, guns, whatever. You know, he's going to do something.
Yes, because what they're at risk of, this government, is if they're putting out that video like you've showed today about those 6 people in the Home Office, there'll be all kinds of schemes, this one-in, one-out scheme. There'll be other things that the Home Office are doing, and he could list, he could get up and do his typical lawyer thing, list everything. There could be 20 things that this government has done that he will think is, but if not one of them are working, if the numbers are still going up, then the public won't believe a single word. I mean, I don't think they do at the minute, but they won't believe you ever again. They won't believe a single word you're saying. They don't think you're getting to grips with it. You will be voted out. If I was a political advisor in Number 10, I'd be saying, we've got to stop telling people what we're doing. We've got to start showing people what we're doing and start doing it.
Exactly right. Morning, Mike. Think about it, says Alan, loyal viewer in Vietnam. He says, these people you showed this morning have no incentive to stop the boats. No boats, no job. Very true. This one from Mel, who says, given the rate of today's statistics on illegal migrants, we can look forward to nearly 250,000 by the next election. What a shower of a government. 250,000, imagine that. This from Susan. Morning, Mike. Sounds like today's significance is that Number 10 have finally realised the public thinks our Prime Minister is a liar. How long does it take for these bozos to catch up? Thanks for keeping me sane. And this one from Els Bells in Shropshire. Take them out of hotels, out of HMOs, out of housing in the community, set up a secured, tented encampment patrolled by the army to keep them in, feed and water, fingerprint whilst processed and deported. Tents are good enough for the United Nations to use. Our soldiers also use them when they're deployed, and they're good enough for our holidays. It's not against human rights, which they should never have anyway, after breaking the law to get here. You know, people are fed up. They're sick to the back teeth of it all. And you're right to say we don't want to see tented villages all over Britain. We don't want to see them in the middle of the West End. But you could put them somewhere. You know, you could take them outside of London and go, look, here's a field. We'll rent it from a farmer, put a load of tents up and keep them there and patrol it. Don't let them out. And only when we are actually finally deporting these people do they leave.
Yes.
Simple.
Yes, or some sort of centre where people, yes, exactly. But having an area, whether it's the Bibby Stockholm barge that we had for a while, you know, something, that containers or something where people can go to be processed within 48 hours. But the point is, you shouldn't be allowed to pitch up a tent. You shouldn't be allowed to stay here for longer, as if you're here for the long term. It's a very short-term solution, a very quick fix, and you're deported. Because on all of, people are furious, and rightly so. But what is going to compound that, as I say, after the summer, when we've seen even more crossings come in, we're now looking at, I know it's not in the papers today, but the way that the country's going is tax rises. Yeah. And who is going to be funding even more people coming to the country? I promise you. And I think
people will absolutely revolt at that. They'll say, "What are we?" Because people are already saying it to me. What are we paying our taxes for? Yeah. Why am I going to work and paying tax for these bozos to come in and be provided with, ice skating lessons and swimming lessons and free gym membership and all of that? Why are we paying for that? Yes, and we shouldn't have to.
No, and that is where I think it's not just. If crime was down, if the economy was flourishing, okay, and you had
if it was the land of milk and honey,
exactly, yes, and you had
we had like great largesse, yes, we just give it all away to people and go, you can share in our really, really happy life. No, because everybody's pissed off, quite frankly. I'm sorry, my apologies, it's only at 6:39 in the morning, but people are fed up. Have a look at what Donald Trump's doing in Washington DC, because Washington DC similarly was blighted by homelessness and by migrants and by a general kind of shoddiness, and Trump wants to clean it up. Here's what he's going to do.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
So he's basically going to clean up Washington DC. He's had enough, because again, I haven't been there that recently, but certainly there have been times when I have been there, and it's been pretty appalling. And I think since COVID, it's got worse. A lot of shop fronts which are still not occupied, a lot of derelict buildings, a lot of homelessness, as I say, and just as he says, bedlam, blight. It doesn't look nice. No. And it's the capital of the United States of America. Clean it up. Yes. London should be in the same boat.
Well, yes, London. I know, but there's no love lost between the President of the United States and Sir Sadiq Khan.
I refuse to call him Sir Sadiq Khan. He should be cleaning up the city instead of banging on about. Did you see that interview he did the other day, saying, "Oh, when President Trump comes to London, I'm going to show him around London. I'm going to take him to a mosque. I'm going to take him to the places where we have great diversity." It's like, no, don't do that. Just clean up the city.
Well, I think the President will be a little bit busy, I'm afraid, Mayor. But you're absolutely right. And the thing is, there will be the commentary, there will be the media, there'll be headlines, there'll be people that come on, all kinds of shows to say how terrible that would be and how inhumane and immoral and what kind of,
don't care.
Exactly, because it doesn't take that long. And when Donald Trump was last in the UK only a few weeks ago and had that press conference, sitting side by side with Keir Starmer, was asked the question, and he was able to rattle off his record and say, when I came to office, we had how many thousands of people crossing the border? We've now had none. And it's tough action, a tough response that gets the deterrent to get it under control. And he'll be doing the same in Washington, D.C. There'll be the liberal lefties who say, how dare you, and all whataboutery. But, once you've got a grip of it, you can then go to your electorate, the people that you serve at the end of the day, to say, this is a crisis, this is what people wanted me to fix, and I've done it. And moved on to the next issue to fix things, because time is short. He's a man in a hurry. He's only got a few years left, obviously, in his second term. He wants to get things done. And we need that. Exactly. And if only we could have a little bit of that spirit here, which is what I think people will want to see.
He's only been in since January, and he's already made a massive, massive difference. I think we've got that Sadiq clip. Have a look.
Come to London. And let me show him around our wonderfully diverse communities. Let me take him on the Pride March this coming summer, next summer. Let me take him to a mosque. Let me take him to some of our diverse communities.
Yeah, maybe not, actually. Maybe not bother. Let's get a voice note from Matt.
Mike, Matt in Hove here. So, last Wednesday to Sunday, 1,119 illegal migrants landed in Dover. Now, thankfully, we've got this groundbreaking one-in, one-out scheme that two-tier Keir signed with Macron. So, I'm just trying to do the maths here. If they've got, we're going to send some back to Macron, and then there's 1 in, 1 out. There's 1 in 6, 8, 9, 10. There's 196. Brilliant. So when the 1 in, 1 out scheme is done with that 1,119, we are going to have only 1,119 in England. Oh, for God's sake.
It's true. You know, it's the 1 in, 1 out scheme, which doesn't mean 1 in, 1 out. It's brilliant. You know, as he says, we had 400 plus yesterday, which has taken us over the limit from where it was, 49,797 the day before. Add 400 to that, it takes you well over 50,000. That's where we are. And they're all staying. They're not going out. None of them are going back to France, I'm afraid. Sorry to disappoint you. Coming up, we're going to be talking about why you should delete your emails to save water, why Peter Kyle thinks it's a good idea to give people fat jabs so they can get beach ready, which is apparently government policy, and also what is going on in the world of driving, because apparently the government wants to clamp down on older drivers and wants to clamp down on drunk driving as well. Let's just talk.
You pelonka!
6:45. Molly says, this morning, Mike, so Operation Pungam was the agency's biggest success so far, finding a shed full of rubber boats, but large transit lorries are leaving Dover and shipping the dinghies back to France to be used again. Well, this is the thing. I mean, this video has been doing the rounds over the weekend, which is a couple of years old, which apparently shows a lot of dinghies being basically picked up, tagged and put back onto a lorry and driven back to France. I don't know whether the veracity of that is, in fact, that's where they're all going. Nobody's really sure. But certainly questions have been asked before about what happens to the dinghies and where they all go and why they're just simply not destroyed. Why wouldn't you just destroy them?
Yes.
You know, why would you keep them in any way, shape or form?
Yes, I think most people would rather the migrants that enter the country illegally are moved back to France.
Yeah, put them on a lorry. Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk about some of the other stories, though, just because we haven't got a lot of time left. We've sort of eaten it up with all of this. Shoplifting is now out of control. We kind of knew that, I think. And Starmer says that he doesn't think it's a good idea to call shoplifters scumbags. This is on page 1 of the Daily Telegraph, because we must be polite to them, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, what a surprise. Again, you know, when there is
why does he get everything wrong?
Yeah,
everything.
It is becoming, and to be, again, not that I've always become a government apologist.
Yeah.
But, you know, to give a bit of defence to the Labour Party, there are people clearly very unhappy and are giving the warnings to Keir Starmer that you've only got maybe 6 months left if you don't turn this around. So there are people clearly frustrated within government that he's getting absolutely everything wrong, including things like, which should be an open goal, due to scumbags shoplifting. Please ask for assistance. You know, that is a sign that is basically on the back of a post-it note. I would have expected it to be, and I wanted it to be, completely on a shop front window to make it clear to people.
But that's what it is. I mean, North Wales Police have been told told the guy that put that up in his shop that he should take it down. But they've now had to clarify that basically putting the sign up isn't illegal. Of course it's not illegal. No. The guy owns the shop. He can put a sign up saying anything he likes, as long as it's not obscene.
And he's the victim.
Yeah.
He is the victim of crime, of people that go into his shop. He's trying to make a living. He's trying to do a hard day's work and put food on the table for him or his family. And there are people that come in and violate that and take from him. He's entitled to put up that sign. And this also
comes hot on the heels of yesterday's decision by the data monitoring body in this country, who said if you use pictures of known shoplifters in your shop, if you put the picture up, you know, you could be in breach of data protection laws. You know, get with the programme, guys. Yes. You know, these are the bad guys. The people putting the pictures up are the good guys, and they want to stop them from stealing. You know, they don't have any rights. I'm sorry, if you're a criminal, you don't have rights, in my view. You shouldn't have them.
Well, no, I mean, I think if you're... But it's just the whole chain of... Come on, you know, somebody has... A member of the public apparently reported that sign. So they've walked past this man's shop, they've looked at that little sign, they've peered in through the window and thought, oh, he's used the word scumbag. How terribly offensive.
I know.
I'm going to call the police.
What's wrong with people?
And, you know, but then the whole conversation amongst the police. Can you imagine a police officer?
Police should have just gone, shut up.
Yes.
And, you know, if you don't like it, don't go in the shop.
Got real crime to fight, thank you, including going after the shoplifters.
Exactly. So, according to the Prime Minister's official spokesman, who was asked about this reference yesterday, it is not the language I would directly use, but we have been very clear through our actions that we take shoplifting seriously. We understand the blight that shoplifting has on our high streets and local business. No, you don't, because you haven't done anything about it. Well, because you haven't directed the police to stop it. You haven't directed anybody to do anything about it. Vigilante crime is on the rise in this country now because people people haven't got any other choice but to take the law into their own hands. And whether the government likes it or not, that's where we are.
Well, I'm afraid to say that they have done something about it, Mike, particularly in London under Sadiq Khan.
Oh, yeah.
Stickers on the road in Oxford Street. Mind the grab.
Mind the grab.
Which I don't think is funny at all.
No.
It's supposed to be play on words, obviously, mind the gap in London Street. But the idea, if you've been a victim of crime, having your phone snatched out of your hand or your bike nicked, the idea that then you just walk down Oxford Street, as I think it was, a purple sign, sticker on the road that says mind the grab.
I know.
I mean, you know, that's their response to tackling this kind of crime.
Yeah, it's all this kind of, you know, isn't it? Let's all be really kind of, you know, really cosy and funny about it, and let's just make, you know, an amusing little take on it, you know, because everybody knows every city is a bit dangerous, you know. And you get all these people like Fraser Nelson and John Rentoul, who I talk to on a regular basis, who are busy telling us, oh, you know, life in Britain is much better than it used to be. You know, this kind of, you know, slightly centre-left ridiculousness where they go, oh, but, you know, life expectancy is better than it was, and, you know, actually the murder rate's gone down, and actually there's less crime statistically. You know, they're all talking absolute BS.
Yes, and I'm afraid these are the same people and the same cohort of people, just like those Home Office civil servants, that will hide behind a particular data set that won't, and they'll use that and they'll cling on to that for dear life because they'll say, oh, look, the crime is going down. No, crime is going up because people know it and they see it. People choose not to report crime because they feel nothing's going to be done. Therefore, the numbers are going to be less. And by the way, if you can hold on to that kind of data set, it's a bit like COVID. People sort of looking at the numbers, how terrible things are. And yes, of course, it was terrible, COVID. And there were people that were hospitalised. Yes, there should have been interventions to prevent the spread. But there was no think about all the other people that aren't included in your data set. But you hang on to this particular
because partly because you want to try and make a point which is supposed to be a bit edgy because you're not a right winger, you know. It's all a bit sad and tedious. Anyway, listen, we're running terribly late. I'm in terrible trouble. It's 6:51. Me and Charlie Rowley back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:53. Myself and Charlie Rowley here. John says this, brilliant show, Mike. John in Rotherham, thanks for the montage with Border Force. Best laugh we've had in ages. Overpaid, incompetent morons. Keep up the good work, brother, and we'll do what we can. Let's get a voice note from Daryl.
I just heard that Downing Street apparently listened to this programme, and all they've managed to come away with is that they're unhappy that you accused them of being like liars over the Chagos incident. So they listen to this programme every day, and that's all they came away with. Not the fact that 3/4 of the country utterly hate them and despise them. They're not bothered about that. All they're bothered about is, oh, you called us liars.
Yeah, even though they are. Strange, isn't it? Yes. Funny old world. How about this one, right? This is a surprising headline to me. Do you want to save water? Delete your old emails. Huh?
Yes.
Apparently, who knew? Apparently these data centres, right? Because funnily enough, I was reading a story at the weekend from America about this massive data centre they've got, AI centre in Texas, and it uses so much water that the whole area around it is now in a massive drought. And people have been told that they can't have showers, they can't wash their cars, they can't water their gardens because this AI data machine is basically eating all the water in the area.
Yes, it is bizarre.
Isn't it strange? Why do they need all this water? What's it for?
Well, it's I think to cool down.
Ah, so they're just pouring it on machines.
Yes.
Doesn't sound safe.
They might overheat. Yes, because you've got too many emails in the cloud or in the data storage or whatever. So that's where it's all stored. And
I mean, I've got thousands of emails, I must admit, that I probably should have got rid of years ago. Yes. But who's got time? I haven't got time. I mean, I tried to do it once. I tried to go through on I had an iMac at one point because for some reason I couldn't get into my laptop or I couldn't get into my iPad. So I tried to go on my iMac, which I haven't used for years, and I had to delete loads and loads of emails and just kind of press the button, go like that, and it took forever, and I was still like 20,000 to go. And, you know, I mean, it's not something you're ever going to do because you can't do it en masse in case you get rid of things that you might need.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's why it's so, you know, again, people must be up in arms because the onus is then on you as the individual. So you need to either get rid of your emails or you need to have a shorter shower in the morning because we need to preserve our water, or you need to do whatever. No, get a grip of the situation. Don't start putting it onto me.
There's more water leaking into the ground every single day than I'm using to store my emails, I think you'll find.
Yes.
And so I think maybe clear up the bleeding leakage in the water system and stop telling me what I should be doing about my water.
It's quite right too.
I think so.
Yes.
Apparently Helen Wakeham, the Environment Agency Director of Water Water and National Drought Group chairman, said the current situation is nationally significant and we are calling on everyone to play their part and help reduce the pressure on our water grid. Well, I'll tell you what, we will play our part if you give us a break, if you give us a bit of a cheaper deal on the water that we pay for, ludicrously, through the nose. I've always said we shouldn't have to pay so much money for water. It falls from the sky. It's free, right? Collect it in something and then give it to me. You don't even have to sell it to me.
Yes.
You know, get it to me in a pipe, and preferably without it leaking all over the bleeding place.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, the amount of these people.
Exactly. The amount of millions and billions that have been spent on water companies, and not to mention, we're an island. We're surrounded by the stuff.
I know.
It's not.
When I suggested that we should get some desalination plants, people ridiculed me and sort of thought I was it was another concrete moment for me. They were like, wait, who is this idiot? Why does he think we can get water out of the sea to water the plants? Well, of course you can. I mean, they've got desalination plants all over the Middle East. Now, here's one for you. We're about to finish nearly, but it's page 26 of The Sun, hidden away. I think you'll like this. Scientists have discovered the biggest black hole in space. I'm going to suggest to you this has been created by Rachel Reeves. Yeah. Right? Apparently it's 10,000 times heavier than the one at the centre of our Milky Way galaxy. The mass is estimated to be around 5 billion light years from Earth, and its weight is said to be 36 billion times heavier than the Sun. It's definitely Rachel Reeves, isn't it?
Yes, she's got competition.
The biggest black hole of all time.
Yes, I think, as you say, we can rival that. I'm sure she's got that black hole's got competition with our Treasury friends.
She's been a bit quiet this week, hasn't she? I mean, she's probably happy that the immigration story has taken over kind of everything and is eating everything in its path, because the economy, which is still dire, by the way, and getting worse, hasn't really been the focus of anything, even though interest rates came down last week, and even though people are still complaining about the fact that the markets are very jittery and all of that. She's kind of taking a few days off, I think.
Yes, and I think, good luck to her, because she won't have long to recover, because she's got to come back to she's got to come back to the Commons. She's got to deliver a budget, which she'll say, in order to smash the gangs, stop the boats, whatever we're spending more taxpayers' money, or I've invested in more people to do the processing. And hello, we don't want more money being spent. No, we want the issue to be fixed. And by the way, your taxes will go up in autumn. So thanks very much.
I mean, I don't know what is going on with this lot. Charlie, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to be playing more of that Home Office video out through the course of the show, because I can't believe quite how useless all these people are. 6 of them, all with very, very important jobs, very, very important titles, and lots of money as well. This from somebody who doesn't give a name. I think the square you mentioned behind Oxford Street, Mike, is Cavendish Square. It used to be a safe and quite elegant place. Now it seems a shanty town. It's sad, as Donald Trump might say. Yeah, I think so. James Heal's going to join us from The Spectator coming up in the next hour. Also, we're going to talk to Matt Vickers and Kinsey Schofield, because guess what? Harry and Meghan have got a new Netflix deal, but it's not worth as much as the last one. Quite right, too. This is Talk. We'll see you after the news.